and that the living principle would be carried across through the resource and collected again through a process of distillation. Therefore, that the purification consisted of cycles of distillation. That these elements had to be completely distilled again and again until finally all growth matter, all impurity would be left behind. Therefore, the bodies of these minerals and metals would die, because the bodies of them could never be united anyway. There is no union to be achieved on the level of matter. Therefore, it is only when all of these are again reduced to their soul equivalents, becoming invisible like the soul itself, that captured within the disciplines of consciousness the resource, that they can be reunited to form the basic ingredients of the stone. Let's put that then onto another level of language and try to see what we are working with. Man experiencing his own emotions and experiencing his own thoughts is not wrong in realizing that they are not of any sufficient quality to sustain his natural spiritual aspirations. He must therefore go through the process of regenerating the various instincts, attitudes, appetites which he possesses, refining them towards the release of their soul content. Let's take one, for example, which will more or less convey the problem that we have in a very simple way. Here's an individual, a person who wishes to grow. But this individual is by nature jealous. Now we might say that jealousy is an emotion which is, under some conditions, almost apparently justifiable. There are moments when it is exceedingly difficult for an individual not to express this very natural instinct. And yet jealousy is an emotional subject. Jealousy can only exist because man has a soul. The bees and the birds are not jealous. The universe beyond man is not jealous. Jealousy belongs to the soul complex in man. Therefore, it is a negative expression of soul energy. Now, we may say that jealousy is almost necessary to the human being, and that he is justified in preserving this faculty and in attempting to grow and develop and be good in spite of it. But here is the difficulty you're confronted with. The stone, which is the perfect soul, can never be cast if any of its elements are absent. And the elements of the soul must be created out of the purification of its own attributes. If jealousy remains, the soul can never be cast of the stone, because this would then become the flaw in the diamond. It would be a quality unregenerated, unredeemed, and therefore a stone not suitable to be built into the everlasting house. That particular stone had not been true. Therefore it would not fit into the wall. And if it was placed in the wall, it would weaken the wall. In the alchemical symbolism, therefore, every one of the extensions of soul represented by the minerals and metals must be redeemed in itself before it can be mixed into the great compound of the molten sea. And the individual working with his alchemy therefore experiences within himself many emotions and instincts: fear, doubt, grief, pride, anxiety, worry, hate, criticism, condemnation, bigotry, prejudice. All of these are soul faculties to its basic elements. Knowledge and its effect upon man must be broken down. It must all be brought to its condition of calcination. Every idea the human being has must be tried by fire, and its dross must be burned away. To accomplish this is a great task, exciting the most earnest endeavors of the most thoughtful, conscientious, and courageous person. But by alchemy, gradually, all of these elements are reduced. And we have a very dissimilar state in other schools of mystical thinking. We have, for example, the Eastern system, where under the Guru concept of instruction, the disciple is taught to unlearn what he has previously known, is taught to discipline himself against any extremes or intensities of his own disposition, and is finally shown how, through this complete regeneration of himself, to approach to the universal which lies beyond him. This is precisely the same implication as in the story of Alchemy. Now, having assumed for the moment that we have a grasp of the problem of basic elements, now we must pass on to the next degree of the art of the stone. Actually, what the alchemist is attempting to produce here is not immediately the transformation of his own totality, but the production of the agent of this transformation. And this agent is the red lion. Now, the red lion, of course, is another solar or sun symbol, but it is most particularly an alchemical device. It is a name given to the final formula and its production. Now, in alchemy, when all the elements and all the ingredients are brought together in an exactly perfect manner, and the experiment with all its rotations is carried through to the end, the adept achieves what is called the powder of projection. This is a small amount of an incredibly powerful agent. Paracelsus is said to have carried a small amount of this agent in the hilt of his sword, after it was made for him and presented to him by the adepts of alchemy in Constantinople. The purpose of this agent is that it becomes universal in its application. It can perform any and all mysteries. One grain of this powder cast upon base metals will transmute 200,000 times its own weight into pure gold. One grain of this powder dissolved in wine will become the universal medicine, and will keep the individual in the same condition of life forever. One grain of this mysterious powder, if incorporated with certain ingredients and accepted into the system under a certain type of method, can produce all-knowing and the power to read every secret locked in nature. Here is the diamond soul, the diamond stone. Here is the elixir of life. Here is the universal medicine. Here is the absolute transmuting agent. This mysterious powder called the red lion. And the red lion is fashioned out of the complete agreement of the metals, in which all, having been reduced to their essential principle, they are fused together by one tremendous experiment. And out of that complete fusing, under terrific heat and combustion, yet in a completely sealed vessel, which must not leak or in any way weaken, under a strange and wonderful procedure, which appears as a miniature of the complete forming of the universe. The alchemist, watching his retort, sees cosmos emerge from chaos, sees the ordering of all life, beholds the thunders of heaven and the rumbles of the underworld, sees lightning flashes and creatures appear and disappear within the vessel, and finally comes the great quietude that follows all this tremendous combustion. And that which is in the bottom of the vessel when it is finished is this wonderful, radiant mass, shimmering, shining like the treasure of the Rhine gold, a mysterious and priceless tincture which can become the complete mystery of universal power. What are we dealing with? What is the story? What is it that can transmute this tremendous mass of anything into true gold? Under the complete story of the casting of the stone, there is only one possible allegory that we can conceive of. The story taking place in the laboratory bottle is identical with the wonderful description given in the Eastern scriptures of the illumination of Buddha. The magnificent experience, which is the complete recapitulation of the spiritual life of man, is illumination itself. It is the achievement of universal consciousness. Therefore, consciousness in its universal state is the mysterious outer projection. This is the red light. For one grain of it can transform 100,000 times its own weight of error into pure truth. Wherever it is turned, whatever it is done, when it is done with it, it achieves the perfection of the great work. Universal consciousness sustains all things, preserves all things, and fulfills all things. Therefore, the true adept possessing the stone is the individual who has achieved universal consciousness within himself. This is his stone. Because from that time on, everything is transmuted by his own understanding. Everything is transmuted by his own spiritual internal. The sin and death vanish from the world because man understands through them. Ignorance is gone forever. So all the problems and burdens of worldliness are transformed into the blessed recognition of truth. So by means of consciousness, truth is revealed in all things. Now, says the alchemist, when this power of projection is placed in the 100,000 times its own weight of those metals, does it actually transform them? Does it take lead and change it into gold? The alchemist says not in that way. He says the reason why lead can be transformed into gold is because the spirit of gold is already present in the lead. You can form no transmutation unless the spirit of the metal you seek is already present under the surface or under the appearance of something else. Therefore, the discovery of truth is not the manufacture of truth, but the recognition of ever-existing truth. Universal consciousness cannot create truth, but it can discover truth and augment it in all things by an alchemical process, revealing truth and making it available as a positive expression of consciousness. In the same way, the alchemist says he can perpetuate life forever once he possesses the stone. The stone here, as universal consciousness, assures him of the absolute survival of life. It does not necessarily mean he will live in the same body forever. But having attained internal enlightenment, there is no darkness possible, and the mystery of death is solved forever. Therefore, everlasting life is bestowed by consciousness itself. Now, all these things remind us to come back again for a moment to this problem of the soul and its part in this particular drama. Universal consciousness in man exists, but is locked away from his visible and knowable consciousness